Is that you when you're cutting onions? Well, no more. I'm Chef Janet, and I'm going to show you how you can cut this onion into tiny little pieces without shedding a tear. Yes, it's possible. Here's my first tip. Cold onions mean those fumes are slowed way down and you're less likely to cry. So I keep my onions in the fridge. I know some experts say keep your onions at room temperature. I don't know why they say it, but I know cold onion, fewer tears. Next tip, the fewer times this knife hits that onion, the less likely you are to cry. So I'm going to show you the most efficient way to get this onion from whole to minced. Here's how you do it. First thing, you're going to trim a thin slice off of this hairy root end. And I'm talking just a thin slice, enough to get those dirty roots off. Not coming back this far, because we want that root end to stay intact so the onion's held together when you cut it, and that means fewer times with the knife. And then trim a thin slice off of the stem end. This is going to give you flat surfaces to work with. And now the onion is root side up on the cutting board. I'm going to cut directly through the center of that root to cut my onion in half. We want root exposed on both halves of that onion. Next step is to peel off that papery outer layer of the onion, my least favorite part of the process. And now we have a nice flat, clean onion to lay on the cutting board and make as few cuts as possible. Here's how it goes. That root end goes on the cutting board away from you, so it's facing the front of your cutting board. I'm going to take my knife and follow the contours of this onion. So my knife is going to start on my dominant hand side, parallel to the cutting board, and then work its way up to 90 degrees at the top, and then work its way back to parallel on the other side. You notice I've got my fingers curled out of the way. All right, here it goes. Next tip. I do not want to cut all the way through this onion. I'm going to start with my cut right below that root, about 1/8 of an inch. This way, this onion's held together and I can make one cut and get a lot done at once. So start just below that root for each one of these cuts we're making across. Parallel and getting near that root, but not through it. And notice that I'm taking my blade and kind of sliding it through. This is an easier way to do this. And if you've got a steel and you put your knife on that steel before you start to get it nice and sharp, that will also make your life easier. Now you see I'm right at the top of the onion and my knife is 90 degrees. Now I'm going to start angling back in the other direction with my knife headed to parallel with the cutting board. And the smaller you want your pieces of onion, the closer you're going to make your cuts. So if you want big dices, make your cuts further apart. Minced into tiny pieces, make your cuts close. Now I've turned the onion so that the root end is towards my non-knife hand. I'm going to curl my fingers and now I'm going to cut across using my fingers to kind of hold all that top layer intact. I'm just pushing down and sliding my knife back to finish the cut. No tears yet. And there it is, a half an onion minced with very few knife cuts and no tears. Do the same thing with the other half of the onion and you're ready to go. Get that onion away from your eyes as soon as you can. Put it in a sealed container if you're not using it right away, or get it straight to the pan. I hope you enjoyed this cooking tip. I'll see you next time.